Okay, we're going to do equations of circles today. We'll start with the ISN. The definition of the equation of, the definition of a circle is the set of all points x comma y that are equidistant from a fixed point called the center of the circle. The distance r is between the center and any point xy on the circle, and that is called the radius. The standard form of the equation of a circle with the center at 0, 0 and radius of r is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Does that remind you of anything? Thank you. Yes, it should remind you of the Pythagorean theorem. And the distance formula. Okay. The distance formula is just the square root of x squared plus y squared, the change in x and the change in y. It's very much related. The general equation, though, is the center is not at 0, 0, is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. But first, let's graph one that has its center at the origin. This basic equation, x squared plus y squared equals r squared, the center of this circle would be 0, 0. And the radius, or r squared, is 9. So what is the radius, actually? We don't take half of it. We take the square root. So the radius would actually be 3. Okay, so we're going to graph our first circle. I'm going to go to 0, 0, the center. We're then going to count the radius, 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, and make a point that would be on the circle. To the left from the center, 3, 1, 2, 3, we would have a point at negative 3, 0 on the circle. 0, 3 would be up from the center, and 0, negative 3 down from the center. It is not a box. Do not connect it with straight lines. You want to make curves so you can make a circle. I just do quarters of circles. At least it looks like a circle. They're not going to be perfect because we're drawing them. Yours did not come out quite like a circle. Yeah. Try to hit those. Yes. Maybe. All right. The center for a circle with this equation would be HK. And the radius would be r. And how you would find that is you would do the square root of r squared, which equals r. So let's try graphing some circles whose centers aren't at 0, 0. This circle, x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. That's the format for a circle whose center is at HK and whose radius is found by unsquaring r squared. Square root of r squared is r. That would be your radius. So if you look at number 1, the center, you see the h would be the number 2. Okay, so h is right there. It's a 2. The k, it says y minus k, so what would k be in this problem? A 1. And then it says r squared in the formula. You will be having this formula on your final. It's on the final sheet, but you got to know how to use it. It says 4 squared. So what was squared is just guys listen, it says 4 squared. What does this say? It says r squared. So what's the r number? Okay. So in that case, the radius was a 4. We would go to the point 2, 1, the center, and then we would go to the right 4, and you have to actually go off the picture, off the grid, because we didn't make it quite right. And then left 1, 2, 3, 4, from the center up 4, and down 4. Then try drawing a circle and hit those points. Don't make a square, but try to make them curved at least. Good. You get practice, you'll start doing a little better maybe. Mine's not perfect, so it's okay. We just know that I plotted the right points and I have what resembles a circle. All right. This one says plus 3 here, but the formula says minus. So then it's the opposite of that. So it'd be negative 3. This says minus 4, so it's not changed because the formula says minus k, then k would be 4. R squared is 25, so to get R, we have to do the square root of 25, and that would be 5. So we would graph negative 3, 4, plot that point for the center, then start moving 5 away from it. You can only go right, left, up and down from the center because there's no way to count that going the other directions, and at least not on the grid. The only points that are exactly, well, they're all exactly 5 from the center, but those are the only ones you can plot nicely. Okay, so looking at 3, there's no h value in there. So if it's just x squared with, then yes, then h is a 0. And here it says y minus 3, and the formula says y minus k, so k is just the number where the 3 is, so it's 3. The radius squared is 36. To solve for that, you take the square root of 36 to get the radius is 6. The point 03 is often plotted incorrectly. It is not on the x-axis, it's on the y-axis. Do it in red so we can see it well. And then we go 6 to the right and left and up and down. Oops, that wasn't 6. I made it boo-boo. Need to do my counting. 6 up from 3 would be 9. All right, there's our circle. All right, on the other page, please. Turn the page to the back. It's equations of circles continued. The standard form is given again. The form for a center at the origin would just be x squared plus y squared equals r squared, but this one can be used for any circle. Write the equation of the circle shown in standard form. So you're going to have to also take a graph and know how to find its equation. So if I look at this graph, I need to find out where the center is. So if you go to the topmost point to the bottommost point and make a vertical line, some people won't maybe see it yet. Go to the furthest left point at 303, furthest right point at 63. You can find the center. So it would be right there. And Kate said that's at 4,3, which is correct. So the center of the circle is 4,3, the point 4,3. And then we need to check out its radius. Well, good. All of those radii are the same length, right? And they are all 4. So if you have a circle with a center of 4,3, the h value is the 4, the k value is the 3. We would plug that into the standard form for the equation of a circle with center and radius given. So it's going to be x minus 4 quantity squared plus y minus 3 quantity squared equals 16. You do want to evaluate. Yes? Okay. Sorry, that's in my recording. Write the standard form of the equation of the circle with the given radius whose center is at the origin. Now, if it's at the origin, that means the center is at 0, 0. So that's the equation x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So these are going to be real easy. We're just going to have to square the radius. So x squared plus y squared equals 10 squared would be 100. Now you may be wondering what you're going to put in for number 6 because it says the square root of 8. You're going to start off with the x squared plus y squared equals. But what do you do with that? Well, r squared equals the square root of 8 squared. And so if you square that, yeah, the square root and squaring are inverse operations. They undo each other, much like division and multiplication undo each other. Equals 8. Yep. And you can actually type that on your calculator if you ever needed to, and you will see that will give you the 8. Then now we're going to do the equation given the center and the radius of a circle. Write the equation describing the circle. Back to the formula, x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. H is going to be, oh, it's a -1. I'm going to write how I'm filling this in below the line, and then I'll write my answer when I'm done. So that's going to be x minus h is a -1 quantity squared plus y minus the k value is a 4 quantity squared equals 5 squared. But I don't expect that to be your final answer. I think you should be able to simplify this. So if you have minus -1, what would you write? What's this minus a -1 simplify to? Okay, x plus 1 quantity squared plus y minus 4 quantity squared doesn't change. And now I should evaluate 5 squared. So it would be 25. All right, let's try another. H is a 1, K is a -9 for this one, and the diameter is 12. So I'm going to start off by plugging in H, x minus 1 quantity squared, plus y minus -9 quantity squared equals, should I put it 12 here? Should I square 12 or better read that? That says this is a diameter. If that's a diameter, so the radius then would be 6. So we need to put 6 squared here. Yes. So your actual answer, I know, Amato, you're going right to it. If you can jump right to this equation, that's absolutely fine. But if you need to, if you want to see, I would know this was notes, so I'm trying to show you why things are coming out what they are. Then we would just simplify this to x minus 1 quantity squared plus y plus 9 quantity squared equals 36. And that would be our final answer. So I do want this for an answer that I'm circling. Over here it would be that. Now some of you, I'm sure, can just go right in and put that down. Okay, the little bit harder question would be when you're given the center and it passes through the point -1, -7. I'm going to make a little circle over here to kind of show you what's going on. It's saying the center is at 3, -4. And then it passes through the point -1, -7. Well, that would be to the left and down, so maybe around here somewhere. What they're telling us, though, is we need to know the radius. They didn't give it to us. We got to figure out that length. And what we've learned all years to do to find a length is the distance formula. So we have to use the distance formula to find r. So r is equal to the square root of, I'm just going to subtract my x values of 3 and negative 1. That would be 3 minus negative 1 squared, plus I'm going to subtract my y values, which are negative 4 and 7. Negative 4 minus negative 7 squared. Okay, so r is going to be the square root of 3 minus negative 1 is 4. 4 squared plus, or negative 4 minus negative 7 becomes negative 4 plus 7, and that's 3 squared. 4 squared is 16. 3 squared is 9. 9 plus 16 is 25. And the square root of 25 would be 5. So now we have a center at 3, negative 4. They gave us that. And a radius of 5. And now we're going to write the equation for the circle. So we would plug in 3 for h, x minus 3 quantity squared plus y minus the k value of negative 4 quantity squared equals 5 squared. Our final answer then for the equation of this circle would be x minus 3 quantity squared plus y plus 4 quantity squared equals 25. All right, so if you were given a center and a point through the circle that the circle passes through, you have to find the radius using the distance formula. You can do the problem. That's the hardest it gets. That's the last one in the ISN. So now we're going to go to the packet. After this lesson, you should be able to graph a circle that is in standard form and identify the center and the radius. You should also be able to write an equation of the circle in standard form if you're given the center and the radius. And you should be able to solve, well, I don't know how many quadratic problem equations we'll even do. So there's just a repeat here of the things we just discussed. If the center's at the origin. And then you guys, I believe you start straight up with this, correct? You're just having a tough old time there, Kate, aren't you? I'm sorry. Graph each circle and name the radius and center. So this is the type of question you could be asked on a quiz or a test. If you look at this one, the center is at 0, 0, because there's no h and no k. If it's in this form, it's at the origin for its center. The radius, r squared, is 36, so we take the square root of 36 and get the radius is 6. So just practicing graphing again. Go to center 0, 0. Plot the points that are 6 away from the center, which would be at 6, 0, 0, 6, negative 6, 0, and 0, negative 6. Sketch. Oh my, mine's not so hot, but more oval looking than, oh well. Good enough though. You can do that, it'll be all right. Just make sure your curves are not straight. Number 2 is another one with its center at 0, 0. But the radius squared is 5. So the actual radius is the square root of 5. And I need to maybe find out about what that is so I could actually plot it, because if you don't know what it is as a decimal, you're not going to be able to graph it. Yep. Square root of 5 is 2.23, or about 2.34. which, oh, 2.24, my mistake. And that's going to be a little past the 2. So if we go to the center, 0, 0, and go 2 and about a quarter almost, and then left and up and down. Does anybody still need this page? Okay, now we've got one in the format of x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Notice that the h says plus 1 there. So it's the opposite of 1. It is -1 for the h value. It says plus 1 for the k there. It's the opposite of 1 then, so it's -1 also. R squared is the 9, and so take the square root of 9, and you get a radius of 3. We go to -1, -1, plot the center, and then, you don't have to plot the center, but you could go there, and then go right 1, 2, 3, left 1, 2, 3, etc. And by the way, the center is just the fixed point that the circle is formed. The distance is the radius away from it to get the circle. It's not actually part of the circle. That was a little rounder than the last one. K5, this would be your H, this would be your K. It says minus KH in the formula, so KH is a 2. K would be the opposite of 3, -3. R squared is 36, so R is the square root of 36, which would be 6. Go to 2, -3. Go 6, right and left and up and down. Okay. Number 6, H is 4, K is 3. It is in the correct format, so don't change any signs. R squared is 4. Take the square root of that, and you get a radius of 2. Go ahead and graph that circle. Okay, I guess we're at the bottom of the page in the packet. Time to flip it. If it's just write the standard form of the equation of the circle with the given radius whose center is at the origin. That means H and K are 0, 0. So that would be the formula x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Simple, simple. Let's go quick through these. X squared plus y squared would equal what? Which is? Good. So number 8 would be x squared plus y squared equals 64. I mean, we can go ahead and just square those, right? That's the radius. But what happens when you square the next one? It just comes out as 6, doesn't it? R squared would be the square root of 6 squared, and that is 6. Here, R squared was 2 squared. That was 4. Here, R squared was 8 squared. That's where we got 64. And this one's going to be x squared plus y squared equals square root of 2 squared, which is 2. Okay? All right, now we're given the kind where you have a little more work to do. We're going to be using the x minus h squared formula plus the y minus k quantity squared form equals r squared. Okay, we can wrap through these. Why don't you tell me the answer for number 11? Somebody plug it in for me. Do I have a volunteer or? Come on. X plus 3 quantity squared. Good, Nathan. Plus. Okay. Equals. Is going to be 6 here. 36. Great. Good job. Okay, can I have someone fill in 12 for me? See if you guys can do these, Amato. Good, you said that perfectly. Wow. X minus 2 quantity squared. I have to repeat it because I'm recording. But y plus 1 quantity squared equals, you said 9, right? Great. Any question about how we're getting that from anyone? All right, do I have one more volunteer for this one? All right, Sammy. Good. Equals 100. Great. Thank you, guys. All right, hope we're getting this. It's really just following a pattern, following a formula. By the way, an employer would expect you to be able to follow a formula. They often do little math tests. I know Subway does. At least they used to. I think McDonald's does too. But I know you might want to get a part-time job, but a lot of times they want to check your math skills. This time we have a little more work to do. Okay, this is like, again, as if you have, oh, sorry. I was jumping the gun. We haven't gotten to those questions yet. The diameter is 8, so we need to think about first, what is the radius? Yeah, because if that's 8, we need to know that the radius is 4. Then we can do the equation of the circle. All right, can I have someone fill this one in for me? Give it a shot. I mean, it's not a big deal if you make a mistake. I'm just trying to find out. Sabrina, help me. Yeah. Okay. Plus 6 quantity squared equals, what will I put at the end? Okay, in the formula, the last part here is r squared. It goes x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So if this is 4, okay, we're plugging in the r value of 4 right here. So we'd be doing this. Yes. Okay, we'd have to put 16 there. Okay, you see what we're doing now? All right, we want to make sure, that's why I'm checking for understanding here. If we have center at the origin and a diameter of 4, the radius is going to be half of 4, which is 2. So you got to think about that first. If it centers at the origin, your h is 0 and your k is 0. That's what that means. So this is the kind you just write x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So it should be x squared plus y squared equals 4. Right, Chase. Okay. Now comes the little bit harder kind. all right, this is an x value, this is a y value. This is an x value, this is a y value. We have to figure out this circle's radius by using the distance formula. This is that situation we did earlier where if you have the center at 3, -4, then the point -1, -4 would have been back over here. Okay, and we need to know the distance from here to here, which is the radius. So the radius is distance formula, the square root of. I'm going to subtract my x's. 3 minus -1 squared plus, subtract the y's. -4 minus -4. Okay, that would give us the square root of 3 minus -1 is 3 plus 1, which is 4. So we have 4 squared here. Plus -4 minus -4. Well, that's just going to be 0 because -4 to -4 is no change in the length of vertical number. Okay, so this is 0 squared. All right, so now I've got r equals the square root of 16. 4 squared plus 0 squared. That would give me a radius that is 4. All right, now that I have the radius is 4 and the center is at 3, -4, I write the equation for the circle. You want to fill that one in for me? Crystal, you do that one for me? Pardon me? No, this is Sharon Heimer. Okay. What's going on today? Sorry, plus, thank you. Y. Okay, so plus 4 quantity squared equals? Yes, 16. 4 times 4. You're squaring the radius at the end. Good job. Been a busy day. All right, write an equation of each circle. We got it again. 0, 3 passes through 2, 0. I don't need to draw the picture. I just need to know I have to find the distance from the center to the point on the circle to get the radius. So first step, subtract the x's. I don't care what order. How far apart are 0 and 2? How far apart are the x's? 0 to 2. Make it easy, guys. All right, 2 minus... I always feel like we do make this formula so hard. If you just say how far apart are 0 and 2, isn't it just 2 units? Okay, so you need 2 squared plus, how far apart are 3 and 0? 3 plus 3 squared. Okay, and then the radius would be the square root of whatever 4 squared plus 3 squared is. That's 4 plus 9, which is 13. So I'm not going to do anything to that right now. I'm just going to say, hey, that's my radius. It's the square root of 13. So I'm going to write the center is 0, 3. So that's my h and my k, 0 and 3, respectively. And the radius is the square root of 13. We're going to write this equation. We're putting it in, oopsie, this formula. I feel like I've written this formula probably good 8 times today, which is quite okay. We just want to remember it and be able to use it. If h is 0, what's going to happen here? I would, if you put in 0, let me just suggest that you're gonna, and then you put in 3 for k, and then you put in the square root of 13 for the r, and then you have to square it. You're going to need to simplify this properly. You don't leave x minus 0. What should you write? X squared. Okay. This one can't do anything. Just go ahead and write. I mean, you could FOIL it out, but I don't want to do that. Leave it in the center radius format. The square root of 13 squared is, okay, but you're squaring it. So if you go like this, and then you square that, getting 13. Square root and squaring undo each other. That should be your final answer. Anybody still need this page? Okay. Let's match these equations to their respective graphs. Match the graphs to the equations. Well, what I would do is I would look at these and say, all right, what's the radius of 18? Well, if r squared is 16, what's the radius? Okay, 4. If r squared is 36, what is the radius? 6. If r squared is 3, what's the radius? Oh, sorry. The radius is the square root of 3. We are not dividing by 2. Okay, we're taking the square root. Now, let's look at the pictures. This one has a radius that's only about 1 point something. This one has a radius of 2, 4, because it's counting by 2's. So r is 4. This one has a radius of 2, 4, 6. Can we now decide which equation goes with which? They're all at the origin for their center. So the first equation goes with which one? A, B, or C? B. This second equation has a radius of 6. Which circle has a radius of 6? C. If you went on your calculator to see what the square root of 3 is, to double check everything, you would find out that would be a radius of 1.73. Okay, so what one's got a radius that's 1 point something is A. So it is the correct graph for that equation. Hoping you'll be able to do some matching. All right, it's time for you to practice. These are where I want you to start on your own. These are in this format because their center is the origin. This section, you will be using the x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. That will continue with through 30 and 31 and 32, etc. When you get to 35, that's when you're going to have to do that the radius equals the distance, square root of. You're going to have to subtract your x's and square it, plus subtract your y's and square it. Find the radius first, and then write the equation of the circle. All right, if you can get a little bit done, this is your homework. We will see each other. We still have a few minutes, but we'll see each other next Tuesday and answer questions on this.